Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Oh, and we have a very busy day today.
Oh, we sure do. Besides the videos and helping other people. But with this particular video, there is a lot going on, a lot of different things going on, earth changes wise, and, technology wise, just lots of stuff going on. So we see a giant crack of more than 2 kilometers opens up in the Mexican desert. And we've seen these before. Look at this. It gets you thinking about expanding Earth.
Yeah, it does. It makes you really curious what's going on there.
Yeah, it is so interesting how, South America will fit right in there nice and snugly in with Africa. And I don't know how many people percentage-wise understand, the changing geological factors involved with the Earth and the history of the Earth. Because it has not always been as it is, and it's not going to be as it is today in the distant future. There's tremendous changes going on. And you can't blame it all on carbon emissions, as they like to do.
Yeah, because there's been changes without carbon emissions. So
This is in Jimenez, Mexico, as you can see. Deep fissure. It was just discovered on the 15th. The Earth is changing, rapidly changing, and I'll give you guys all the links. So this is super cool. We've had so many different, asteroids come flying by, fireballs, meteors, perhaps spaceships, perhaps, light ships as well. There's just so much. This was an Earthgrazer meteorite that bounced off the Earth's atmosphere back into space. And so this one was not the one that we were talking about that was supposed to go really close to the Pacific, because this one was actually flying over Germany and the Netherlands on the 22nd at an altitude of just 91 kilometers, which is well below orbiting weather and TV satellites. Oh boy. Yeah, there's been a lot of those.
it has, and they're increasing, and they're getting closer.
Yeah, I mean, so many. And there's lots of videos here for you guys, to check out too if you're interested in going farther. And it's just been one after another. And I have to wonder if this was maybe something incoming that exploded in the atmosphere. So we have reports of a mysterious blast or an earthquake from Indian-occupied Kashmir. And it's filling social media, and what was this? Was this some sort of rocket? Was it? That's the thing, that people don't know, and people think, have different opinions on what this is. Sonic boom, was it some sort of military craft going overhead? Was this alien craft? Was this, meteor? It's up in the air.
It feels like it's something that was cloaked, because I'm not getting a lot of information in on it.
So, earthquake, who knows? But, these are the locations where people felt it. And Kashmir is definitely a interesting area. Actually, all the Himalayas, very, very interesting. Perhaps there are entryways in there to the inner earth. And here we see gold miners discover gigantic meteorite crater in Australian outback. See, all these things are coming out like at the same time, and it just kind of gets you thinking, what's going on here? This is a biggie, too. And what's interesting, too, is that you could use this as a reference point for the size of objects coming in and just like what type of damage would they do. So gold miners in the Australian outback recently discovered a gigantic meteorite crater dating to about 100 million years ago, found near Western Australia town of Ora Banda. The newly dubbed Ora Banda impact crater is about 3 miles across, or 5 kilometers across. This huge hole was likely created by a meteorite up to 660 feet or 200 meters wide, or longer than the length of 2 American football fields. So that gives you an idea. And of course the composition of it too, it would matter, as well as what type of impact it would have. But what was interesting too is this little line here. Because we no, they didn't do any nuclear testing at Orabanda. The evidence suggests that this was an ancient impact crater. You know, we were talking about the wars of the gods. We were talking about how in all the Hindu scripts, it talks about all these different humanoid beings, and some beings maybe not so humanoid, but flying around in their vimanas, their aerial ships, shooting at each other, and blasts that are, 10,000 times the brightness of the sun. The fact that there's radioactivity, I wonder if anybody's measured it. I didn't see anything in the article about measuring for radioactivity, but I'd be curious to see that, if there's any leftover trace. That's another thing. Was it that, or was this part of the wars of the gods?
Well, yeah, I mean, why even mention it? You're right. It's like, why throw that in there? That's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so very, very interesting too, because they also said that, a crater this size would have had more power. It would have been a bigger blast than all the nuclear tests we've ever done combined.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But then again, I'm sure an advanced species, way, way more advanced than we are, would be able to create more powerful weapons. And we see the Creek Fire has become the largest single blaze in California, spawning 2 rare fire tornadoes. And we've seen those in recent years. Everything that was rare is getting less rare as we go deeper in. So this one's almost 300,000 acres. Of course, I didn't grab these little tweets by Governor Newsom and Kamala Harris just, saying, see, climate change, human-induced climate change. As we know, the politicians have their own agenda, so does Never a Straight Answer, and the rest of the like. Without a doubt, unfortunately, there's more dry conditions and winds coming in. So let's all send our prayers and attentions for some nice soaking rain across the West and get these fires out. And let's hope there's no more fire from the sky that starts anything again. At least 126 people killed in floods and landslides. This is in Nepal. And we've seen this again all over the globe. This area has been hit particularly hard. India as well, China as well, as we know, and also Africa. It's just part of these times. And then, of course, we got to put in, the reality or potential reality. I think it's reality personally, that there could be weather wars going on as well, as the technology is most definitely there. And here in England, we see intense hailstorm that buried some areas in 4 inches of ice. Look at that. And here we are in September. I think it's going to be a snowy cold winter for a lot of people. I really, really do. And the unfortunate whale stranding is up to 400 pilot whales dead in Australia's worst mass stranding on record. And it's just so sad to see these things, these massive, massive die-offs. And as we had said, China experiences 21 large-scale floods in 2020, setting a new historical record. And thankfully, the dam hasn't broke yet, so that's a good thing, because that Three Gorges would be just an absolute disaster. And so far, so good. It's held up, even though a lot of people have lost their lives. And we see a total of 833 rivers in China have gone above warning levels, 80% more than the same period last year. And, each year is setting more and more historical records. Incredible.
I know. I'm looking at this, and records are being broken day after day after day. It makes you wonder, what is the pinnacle going to look like?
Well, as you've gotten, the pinnacle is still quite a ways off. It is. So, it's just going to continue to escalate. Although the political situation may hit a pinnacle way before the earth changes hit the pinnacle. And that's what we are getting, especially when we're talking about the United States, as well as we know we're now like less than 40 days until, the big day. And, there's so many signs that it's just going to be chaos. And we have the UK recording its coldest September temperature in 23 years. And all sorts of records are going. And both ways, we've had a lot of record highs as well. So the extremes are getting more extreme. And European ski fields are opening early thanks to heavy summer snow. And Australia as well. Unprecedented spring snow hits parts of Australia as the regions suffer their coldest September temperatures ever recorded, ever. And this is talking about another crack just opening in the Earth's magnetic field. As predicted yesterday, Sunspot turned out to be very short-lived, lasting barely half a day. So now we're at 71% of the time there hasn't been a sunspot, and that's pretty low. And it's ultimately going to work towards getting colder and consistently colder. And for all the mainstream talk about global warming, after every period of global warming, there's a cooling. It's just a cycle that happens. The caveat in this is that there's technology that many people believe, including us, that's being used that seems to be amplifying and magnifying things as well. And as we see here, as the magnetosphere decreases, it doesn't take massive solar storms, massive CMEs to necessarily wipe out the grid, interfere with our technology, take out, the internet. It won't take as much. And so as that keeps going on, more than likely we're going to see a lot of technology glitches, and a ton of people are getting technology glitches right now.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, at the edge of your seat, wondering, what is going to happen because we're so delicate and fragile right now.
And how do we believe numbers when they're always revising things later, or they'll let out things like this now? So on December 22nd, 1991, it was colder in Greenland than on Mars. And of course, Mars, again, depends on where on Mars, because at the equator on Mars, from what I've read in the past, it can get up to around 50 Fahrenheit, but be, something a couple hundred degrees, lower at the poles. And so here you see that was a new record low temperature in the northern hemisphere. And I don't know what took them 29 years to figure that out.
Well, I guess you have to look at things and have a detached way to look at things, so you don't get stuck on what they're saying, because it's proven so many times in the past that it's not true.
So, yeah, there's changes going on. And Robert Felix, a great author who had the book Not by Fire, But by Ice, and he was talking about this a long time ago. And this article goes into not just him, but Professor Zarkova, who is highly revered when it comes to the fact that we're going into a grand solar minimum. Hello, new little ice age, mini ice age. But he is just making the statement, as is she, that, hey, you got to prepare now, because temperatures are going to go lower. It's going to affect the crops everywhere that we're growing food right now, and in the past that's been really a successful area, may not be successful in the future. So everything's going to shift. But as we were saying in yesterday's video, if there was a will, we could overcome that with the technology we have now. Okay, so let's say, it took China a week to build a hospital, a week, right? And, maybe the hospital was leaky and falling apart and all, but still, why are we not building, massive greenhouses in so many areas that would, alleviate a lot of suffering and a lot of crop failures in the future? We could do this. We could do this if they really, really wanted to. It's going to take people demanding that of their governments. And, we have to focus on the right things instead of just, the left picking on the right picking on the left, blame. Let's actually focus on solutions instead of placing the blame. That's the first thing they always do. The first word out of their mouths. I mean, I'm seeing tweets by the politicians all the time, and they're just basically taking pot shots at each other. And instead of saying, hey, I got this brilliant idea, or hey, I know this scientist that has this brilliant idea. But it's because, the agenda is really not one of serving the masses when you get down to it.
No, it's absolutely not. And that's important. We need to remember that they're not out to help us. They're out to keep us in turmoil and chaos.
And so Piers Corbyn, another British astrophysicist, says there's no way out, and we are, we're heading into that mini ice age. The new Maunder minimum has begun. The mini ice age is accelerating, and when this happens, when I know in North Carolina, I think it was Beaufort, and then in South Carolina, you pronounce it Beaufort, or maybe I have that backwards. But anyway, there's the Beaufort Gyre, or maybe it's the Beaufort Gyre. And when this action stops, which they are waiting for and is actually overdue, it's going to release a lot of water that's going to go out and disrupt the Gulf Stream. And when that happens, it's going to get damn cold in Europe, especially Northern Europe. Damn cold. And that gets me thinking about Casey, because there's one prophecy that Edgar Casey said that I've always anticipated it being basically a tsunami up in that area, because he says that Northern Europe is going to change in a twinkling of an eye. But you know what? He might be talking about the gyre, because when the gyre flushes out, it's not as drastic as the day after tomorrow, but it's that same sort of thing. I mean, it's going to get really cold quick up there. And you're not going to be able to, unless they really put a lot of work into building, structures that can house massive amounts of crops. And it's not going to be feasible to grow any food up there, and then just even survive if we lose the grid. It's going to be incredibly cold.
It will be. How do you survive in that horrible weather?
So the Gulf Stream is the reason that Europe has the mild, habitable climate that it does. And, what will happen? Well, shutting down of the Gulf Stream will lead to cold Arctic-like conditions invading Western Europe almost overnight. And that's David Moriello, otherwise known as...
Who?
Yeah, you forget. I know we haven't watched Oppenheimer in a while, but yeah. But anyway, from Oppenheimer Ranch Project. So yeah, he was talking about this and the gyre, as have so many other people, and that is something, again, for everybody in Europe, especially Northern Europe. That will not be a pleasant thing. Bright red glob washes ashore in Washington. 7-armed octopus, perhaps. It's about 3 feet long. Interesting. But, with the whales, stranding themselves and beaching themselves and all these different die-offs, and who knows what lies at the bottoms of oceans, and, maybe things are getting affected down there. There's perhaps a lot of I would think there's a lot of volcanic activity that we're not really aware of that's happening down there as well. So maybe that's the reason why this little guy ended up on the beach. Who knows? And, this you could look at as cute, or like, wow, that's so cool. Or you could look at it like, what if they weaponize this thing? Then we're talking like sci-fi nightmares. This is a gigantic Gundam robot, and it makes its first moves in Japan. It's a functioning, huge robot. It's over 18 meters tall, weighs 25 tons. Can you imagine if they go ahead and weaponize something like this, like a 60-foot tall robot, and like with lasers on his hands or something? I mean, it's crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, they make it look kind of cute right now, but oh boy, watch out.
Yeah, there's video there that you could check out and actually watch this thing. It walks, it kneels. Pretty cool, yet pretty creepy. And here we see 8 essential items for your blackout bag. No, not your bug out bag, your blackout bag for when, the lights go out.
Good.
Boom, boom, out go the lights.
We need stuff like this.
So LED lanterns, and we use them all the time.
Yep, all the time. I love running around the house with our little lanterns. It's fun.
It is. It is. And I have some that I bought like years ago, and they're still working off the same batteries, and they're just awesome. I love them. So I think I got a 4-pack for like 20 or a 6-pack for $20. They're very affordable. LED portable hand up crank dynamo, solar camping lantern. And these are suggestions, and everybody is different with what they like to use, but sets of long burning emergency candles as well. Green jumbo glow lights. Glow lights are another option too. Multi-powered handheld emergency radio, like one of those crank radios as well. Coleman single burner propane stove, or double burner. Those camping stoves are very, very handy. Hot hands hand warmers. And waterproof matches. All very good suggestions. So if you guys haven't, please go and check out our website, Evolutionary Energy Arts, and read what some people have said about the work that we have done with them. And we want to thank everybody on Patreon that is helping to support us and keep us doing this, and also at Ko-Fi. As always, guys, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.